to introduce this book to you. It's called Grandpa. Basically what this is a mock memoir from the point of view of a rock star, superstar, who's been a rock star for 25 years. Think Steven Tyler, only 10 years younger, the lead singer of Aerosmith. So he came to be a star in the early 80s, mid-80s, and has sustained his career all the way through until 2008 when this book takes place. He's had tabloid covered arrests, you know. He says he tag teamed with Robert Downey Jr. all the way through the 80s. But he now has a thriving juggernaut of commerce, and now he's facing what he thinks is his biggest challenge in his life so far. He's turning 50 and becoming a grandfather. And this character is dragging his feet like you won't believe. What I want to read for you at this point in time, because literally, after being a heroin addict, an alcoholic, in tabloid covered arrests, alienation from his only child, embarrassing public divorce, being ripped off by managers and record companies, this is what he considers to be the biggest challenge of his life, and so he decides to write a book about it. He's at dinner with his daughter, his ex-wife, and his girlfriend, who is 2 years younger than his daughter, and a supermodel. This man is living in complete arrested adolescence and has been since his early 20s. And now, this is what happens. Now here comes the news I mentioned at the outset of this chronicle. The news I received so poorly. My daughter's announcement from only seconds before had yet to fully penetrate my comprehension. In other words, while I was perched precipitously on the ledge, I was leaning toward plummeting into a state of shock. I still hung on by a thin thread of denial, unable to believe or even to fully absorb what I'd just heard. I always prefer sitting quietly and calmly after a meal, enjoying the aftertaste, reserving energy for my digestive system to get its process underway. When the lion's share of my blood is in my belly, my mind is understandably pokey, lethargic, if you will. As a result, I have a tendency to zone out. I probably just misunderstood or imagined it. I silently tried to comfort myself. Dinner itself had actually been full of surprises. A stroll in the park. Through the courses of the meal, from salad to coffee, the tension in the household had gradually dissipated, and the women were finding much in common to keep their conversation light and lively. I was sated, not to mention relieved, that peace had miraculously come over our embattled island nation, and I had drifted away to my own private imaginary planet of contentment. What Tanya, my daughter, said, however, dragged me back, kicking and streaming into the here and now. The blood rushed back to my brain, leaving behind a sharp pain in my gut, which in turn sent a wave of panic into my throat. What did you say? I asked, even though the last thing in the known or unknown universe I wanted to hear was my daughter repeating that awful revelation. Oh, Rick and I are, well, I'm going to have, fuck, this can't be real. Then she just came out with it. Daddy, I'm pregnant. As in gonna have a baby pregnant? I was flabbergasted. Exactly, Tanya clarified, 3.5 months. The baby is due in late February. That thread of denial I mentioned before, it snapped. And I plunged into a deep black cavern of self-absorbed despair. This was the moment I had been dreading for at least 10 years. In other words, you're telling me that my throat was suddenly so dry that my voice failed me. I took a sip of Pellegrino and started again. What you're saying, what you're informing me right now is, how could I possibly articulate such a thing, is that I'm going to be a grandfather? You're going to have my grandchild? What the? I was beside myself, incredulous that life could have dealt me such a cruel stroke of misfortune. I know this was going to take some getting used to, shook my head, jutted my jaw, and pounded the table with my clenched fist, sending the silverware rattling on the dinner plates. And my desire really is not to sell a whole lot of copies of this book right now. What my desire is to get this book to Brad Pitt and Johnny Depp, because they're going to be turning 50 next year. And I know for sure that they're going to love to play this part in a great big feature film. So that's my publicity challenge right now. So thank you very much for listening.